Although you will come to Indonesia on summer, but we still can talk about the relationship between Indonesia and America. We're hearing that about the comprehensive partnership framework that you're working on to finalize during your visit in Indonesia. Does this enhance partnership, including increasing military assistance?
It is comprehensive. So in my conversations with President Yudhoyono and our teams, what we want to create is a comprehensive partnership that includes political and security issues. It includes economic and technological issues, but it also includes how can we strengthen the people-to-people contacts and bonds between our two countries. And so everything from working together on energy projects that deal with climate change but also deal with economic development, how can we enhance trade, how can we work more effectively on the security issues that we share, not just counterterrorism, but obviously Indonesia is a major force in Southeast Asia.
The military assistance.
And the issue of military assistance. Obviously there has been some controversy in terms of military assistance in the past, but since the advent of democracy in Indonesia, what you've seen is the TNI make significant progress, separating itself out from the police, focusing more on broad external security issues as opposed to internal security issues. And so we've already begun more interactions, and our hope is that we can continue to improve on that front.
Is that a signal that your administration is satisfied with the military reforms and the resolution of the past human rights abuses in Indonesia?
Well, I think that we have to acknowledge that those past human rights abuses existed. And so we can't go forward without looking backwards and understanding that that was an enormous problem, not just for America, but it was a problem for the Indonesian people. We have seen significant progress, and so what we want to do is to continue to improve our consultation and move this forward into a more positive direction, because we want Indonesia to be a close partner for many years to come, and we want a prosperous and secure Indonesia. That's in the interest of the United States as well as in the interest of Indonesia and the entire Asian Pacific community.
Mr. President, there's a prevailing skepticism that you will be unable to act on your stance to reach out the Muslim world. How do you respond to this?
Well, actually, we've made enormous progress. Obviously, I made my Cairo speech last year and sent a clear message that the United States is a friend and a partner with the Muslim world, that we obviously have a determination to defeat terrorism wherever it exists, and we want to partner with countries to deal with that issue, but we don't want terrorism to define our relationship to the Muslim nations around the world. We want to build on cooperation on trade, on economic development, on science and technology, on culture. And so what we've done is to all the issues that I outlined in the Cairo speech, we've made progress on. I mean, one of the sources of great tension was the Iraq War. This summer, we expect to have ended combat operations inside of Iraq, and we will have all our troops out by next year. We talked about the need to reach out, and I've put forward, for example, in Pakistan, we're setting up an entrepreneurship center in Saudi Arabia. During Hajj, we worked to make sure that the H1N1 virus did not affect people during Hajj. I've assigned a Muslim envoy to attend organizations like the OIC and to figure out how we can work on a whole host of issues and how we can get more young people and student exchanges. And so there are a whole range of issues that we need to work on. We will continue to work on them.
Since you mentioned about the terrorism, that issue of terrorism is also facing Indonesia. Many believe that the roots of terrorism is poverty and injustice. Aside from financial intelligence assistance that United States is giving, what kind of cooperation that U.S. would give to erase the roots of terrorism in Indonesia?
Well, I think there's a combination of things. I think that there are a lot of countries that have poverty but don't have terrorism. There is no doubt that if you have a lot of young people, particularly young men, who are unemployed, they're more vulnerable to recruitment by terrorist organizations. But I also think that there are ideological roots to terrorism where people have distorted Islam. And one of the things that I always valued so much about Indonesia when I was growing up was people were devout Muslims, but they were also tolerant of other cultures. And I think that that's the future of an Islam that is going to be able to modernize, become wealthier, become successful. I mean, the history of Islam is that at its height, it was pro-science, pro-technology. It was more advanced than many parts of the world. But what we do want to do is partner with Indonesia on economic development issues generally. Obviously, the crisis in the 90s had a profound effect on Indonesia. It has now built back up and is poised to do very well. And we think we can be good partners not only in providing assistance for development, but also trade. And that trade relationship is one that I think can be very, very important.
You mentioned about people to people. Many Indonesians have a high expectation that the U.S., under your leadership, successful implementing the two-state solution to the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Is this a realistic expectation?
Well, it's going to be very hard. Obviously, it's been an issue for 60 years through Democratic and Republican administrations, through different governments in Israel. It is a very difficult conflict, but I am going to work as hard as I can while I'm president to make sure that we arrive at a two-state solution where Israel is secure and is living side by side by a prosperous and successful Palestinian nation. And everybody in the region understands that this is the right thing to do. The question is, how do we break down the barriers of trust or the barriers of distrust that exist between these countries?
Okay. My last question, Mr. President. What life lesson did you take from your experience in Indonesia that helped make you the person you are today?
You know, that experience was so important to me in so many ways. Obviously, just my interactions with the Indonesian people, I just have great love and affection for the Indonesian people. I think that they are hardworking. They are love the families and communities. They're very calm, which I think helps me now in a very tense job. I think that living in Indonesia also reminded me of how big the world is. Indonesia is such a big country and such a diverse country, and there's so many different people there. And it reminded me that we have to have a broad view of the world and recognize that we're all interconnected, and that's very important. I'm really looking forward to getting back, and I'm looking forward to letting my children see what a wonderful country Indonesia is.
Is it true that you like nasi goreng and bakso?
Bakso, I love nasi goreng.